All right, well, we're doing a little digging today. Got us a little ditch digging going on. And I'm happy we decided to hand dig, because look how many we hit. Man, I sat here and looked at this and I thought, oh yeah, there'll be, I thought of this black line and I thought of that sewer line. That was the only two things that I thought I was gonna hit. Now I knew up at the house that I had to dig around. Obviously I saw the 3/4 inch line there for the septic, but I didn't think about where it went. I thought it came down right here under my feet and went out, which would make sense because that's more of a straight line towards the septic. But what they actually did was when they installed my septic, they basically laid it in the same ditch here as close as they could as the sewer line. So on my house, this is inside, there's the toilet over here and there's the sink over here. And I didn't think to tie those two together under the slab. So you see this 1.25 inch line comes out here from the sink drain, which is also the vent. And then the 4-inch line off the toilet comes out somewhere here under the wall and then turns. So they turn and they come together right in here somewhere. And then they go on out. So this is just septic from the downstairs half bath. And then it comes over here and it ties in with this 4-inch line, which is the same line from the half bath, but this line also continues up and it goes up inside that wall, basically behind the gutter, and that carries all the septic from the upstairs, which on our house is 2 full baths, the kitchen, the washing machine, all that. So that carries a lot. This carries just a little bit. But anyway, I thought about that one and I thought about that one. I thought this big 4-inch here, I thought it tied in more abouts over here, you know, and that I wouldn't hit it all. But so then as I started digging, I thought, okay, I found those two here and here. And I thought, oh, you know what? There's going to be that one over here. So I was looking for that one. I was never expecting to hit this big goober. And that really made it a pain because the way it crosses at that shallow angle like that, it really had to pretty well get down on my hands and knees to burrow underneath of it. But we've hand dug everything now anyway up by the house. So that's the whole point. Hand dug all this. We threw in one of our 24-inch sweeps. I think that's actually, is that a 36? Seems more like a 36. That's a big radius. But anyway, we threw in a sweep just to make sure that it would fit. We're going to be tying right in here into the bottom of the panel on our main lugs. That's where our power is going to come in or come out. So it'll turn down. It's going to go underneath of all of these pipes. So here up by the house, we're only going to be about 16 inches deep, a foot to 16 inches. But again, that's fine because this is, so I was telling my wife, this is kind of sacred ground, if you will. I don't ever just come in here and start plowing or digging a hole because I know there's so much stuff in here that this is a, you know, it's a danger zone. So now that we're out here past this line, no ma'am, do not throw shovels. Now that we're out here past this line, it's smooth sailing all the way back to the shop. There's one more black drain tile, and it's going to be the gutters. It's the gutters, and it's all my wife's fish tanks. So it takes that front gutter over there, it takes this gutter here, and it kind of sweeps just across the edge of the hill here and ties in. I don't know if you guys can see past my finger. Right out here where the grass is a little thicker, that's where there's kind of a hole where I can't mow as well, but that's where the drain tile I'm standing on and that black drain tile that we identified over there, that's where they come together. So somewhere in here along the edge of this hill is going to be that other black pipe. I think it's about 3 feet deep. I'm going to be looking to bury about 2 feet deep. If I hit it, no big deal. I'll just splice it. Like I said, it just carries rainwater. It's not septic, so I don't really care if I cut it. I'll just patch it with a splice and move on with it. But like I said, it should be pretty smooth sailing to come out through here. So the hope is to get Mini X from my neighbor if he's got it at home tomorrow or the next day. If not, I can get the tractor with the middle buster, and that'll cut down about 16 inches if I really set it all the way. So anyway, that's the plan for digging the ditch. I just want to show you guys. Oh, Lord have mercy. Look at this. Man, you start to find stuff when the grass gets short in the winter. Well, we got a couple things going on today on digging the ditch. As is Murphy's Law, we decided to finally dig a ditch that we put off for weeks, and as soon as we do, we get an inch and a half, 2 inches of rain overnight. But thankfully, I've got this little half horsepower pump, 1 horsepower actually, 1 horsepower pump, little sprinkler pump as they call it. I bought this thing years and years ago. I haven't used it in just as many years, but it's the perfect little pump for this application. Just a little ditch pump. Got a garden hose in here just sucking out, trying to find the deepest spots in the ditch here and getting her sucked out. I had to swap around some of the fittings just to make it all work with my leaky hoses. It's real hard to get this thing to pull a prime if it's got any air leak at all. But anyway, we're getting the ditch pumped out, and at the same time we're building our cable. So I showed you guys the wire as far as the big messy wire and it's stiff and it's hard to work with, but we're going along and just making a bundle with it, putting tape about every 18 inches, 2 feet as needed to try to keep it all organized. We're going to try to get the cable built today, get it all stretched out, laid out, get our conduit laid out beside it, and kind of get things organized and ready. So just as quick as we can get the Mini X in here and start digging, then we'll start digging and be dropping cable in right behind it. We may continue digging, just hand digging today if we feel like it, but more likely we'll probably be going to town to get some fittings because my 2.5 inch box adapter did not fit. The hole measured 2.5 inches wide. The threads measured right at 2.5 inches, but it doesn't quite fit. So we're going to go look for a 2 1/4 or a 2 inch, just enough to get into that box, and then we'll adapt it up to our 2.5 inch conduit. So anyway, just a little bit of housekeeping here. Mostly working on building the cable, but wanted to mention having to pump the old ditch out here too.
I know what you're trying to do.
So one thing I just had to fail to mention, I'll put it on the ditch digging video here as part of the prep work, but I've got to cut a groove in our stone. I may have mentioned that in the video when I was talking about the electrical planning, I don't remember, but basically, hopefully you guys can hear me over the air conditioner, basically this main conduit, oh that's easy, this main conduit was in place before the stone was put on, so the masons tucked the stone up behind it. But obviously the other pipe that we're adding now was not here, so they put stone right across it. So now I'm having to cut a groove in the stone as best I can. Now this is just it's little fake stone, air stone, so it actually chisels out of there really easy. But working in behind these wires and the ground and everything was kind of a pain. But I just used a grinder with a diamond wheel, cut a bunch of grooves in it to kind of help weaken it, and then just hit it with a chisel and a hammer and cut it out of there. I think I've got it done enough. That hole to me in the bottom of the panel, I feel like is actually a 2 inch, not a 2.5. So we may have to do a 2 inch box adapter, which will still be big enough, and then cross over to this 2.5 conduit once we get down off the box just a little bit, which would actually help if we did 2 inch down for a little bit. It would actually be a little easier to fit it in there, so we'll just have to see. But anyway, just thought I'd add that on the video. It is one other extra little step that we had to do. I'm just trying to take care of it here today. I'm trying to get everything ready today that we could actually start, technically, we could start running conduit. I don't think we're going to, but technically we could. Well, I'll give you guys the captain's view from up here in the crow's nest, if you will, up on the back deck. Looking down on our progress of just now. Kind of jumped ahead a little bit here, and we wanted to start getting some conduit put on. So we got our cable all laid out. I think I showed you guys that, maybe not, but I've showed you guys this before anyway. We got all of our cable unspooled, laid out, stretched out, and went along taping about every 18 to 24 inches or so. And then stretched it all the way out to the shop to make sure that it would be sufficiently long, which is more than enough, which is good. Obviously, you don't want too short. But stretched it all out relatively straight, and then started slipping a few joints of conduit on just to kind of get a head start. But since we were getting good progress, we decided we'd go ahead and try to get the first little bit of it in place. So we had our first 2 joints of conduit. We started feeding our wire underneath the pipes. Of course, there's the gutter drain, there's the main sewer, there's the side sewer, and then of course the other side sewer and the septic electrical all go through there. So it's kind of a beast slipping underneath of all those, and it was a glorious muddy mess since it rained about 2 inches last night or whatever it was, I don't know. But yeah, got it all in there all the way up to the 90-degree sweep here. So the last thing we've got to get is there'll be a little short stobble pipe, maybe about 1 foot long. We're gonna have to cross over to a 2 inch conduit just to get into the box adapter, and then of course the box adapter itself, and then we'll pull our excess up into the panel there. So this is absolutely the worst of it, getting all that in place. We'll have to slide the conduit back and forth just a little bit, but we left it sloppy for right now. It's all glued up, but we left it with a little bit of wiggle room. We didn't want to cram everything up there against the side of the house and then be fighting with it trying to get into the box. So you can see our ditch just stops there. Our hope is to get a Mini X tomorrow from the neighbor if we can. But in the meantime, we can keep working down along the pipe and keep slipping. Yeah, that piece of conduit isn't on. We'll keep slipping conduit over the wire and gluing it up. That's something we can do tonight, and then we can just ditch right beside it tomorrow, and then just knock it into the ditch once the ditch is dug. So really good progress for today. The last big bear, I mean, obviously the big one's going to be getting into the panel here on the house, but then we've got to get into the panel in there in the shop, which we don't even have that panel set yet. So for now, I guess we'll just bring the wire up through the wall and at least get it into the building and get all that weatherproof to be the ideal. So anyway, making good little progress on it here, and we'll let you know how she goes. All right, well, we had high hopes of getting a Mini X in here to help dig this ditch, but it's just not working out, which is okay. I mean, our neighbor is going to let us borrow it for free basically, so you can't complain about that. So we're going to switch gears today. We're not going to sit around and keep waiting day after day after day hoping to get a free rental so that we can do less work. We're just going to get it done. We're going to dig. So it's really not that far. We measured it, you know, 100. It's like 130 feet line of sight, and we've already done 30 of it, you know, so it's really not that bad. 25, whatever. It's really not that bad. But what we're going to do is get all this cable and stuff all pushed out of the way as much as we can to the side, get this little fence right here taken down, and then I'm going to run through it with the tractor and the middle buster plow. It's not going to go, the plow's not going to go the full 18 inches deep, I don't think, like we want, but it's going to go at least 12 to 16 inches deep, and that's going to help do a lot of the hard digging. And then we'll just come behind it with a tree spade or a regular round nose spade and break out the last few inches that we need to. So we're gonna get this picked up right now. Gonna get this little fence taken down, which the dogs we don't ever keep them fenced in the backyard anymore anyway. So we're gonna get this fence taken down out of the way, and then I'll be able to just drop the plow in the ditch right there and just take off with it. So we'll get things set up and let you know. Okay, well, I think I've had enough of digging the ditch.
You have help.
We've gone through and dug out.
Hey guys,
like I said, we busted the middle down to about a foot deep with the plow.
Come on, honey. And
then we went back through mostly with the tree spade here actually, and cut down about another 6 to 8 inches with the tree spade. In a couple of spots it was harder, and so we actually busted out the pickaxe. It's not rock, it's really not even all that hard of clay, but we would use the pickaxe and go about 4 feet with that to really bust it loose into chunks, and then just shovel it out with the tree spade. So pretty nice ditch, you know, I mean, for what it's worth, a ditch is a ditch. You're gonna fill it right back in, but I'm happy with it. Right through here under my road, it's a little shallower than I would like. It's maybe only a foot deep, but that's that really hard spot. So it's gonna be graveled over with a road over it anyway, and since it's good hard clay, it's not like it's gonna be a problem of it packing or sinking anymore in the future. So, but cutting up through the backyard, we got easily 16, 18 inches deep, no problem. So my wife's in working on the wall, trying to get the breaker panel put up in the shop and get it at least in position so we can start running conduit back out of it. And I'm going to start going up the line here and start gluing more joints together and kicking them in the hole as I go. So we're starting to kick a little more pipe in the hole, probably going backwards really, because we actually have to hook up the panel in the shop first, because that's where the breaker is going to be. We can't hook this end up until we're absolutely ready and done, and then it's going to be, we're going to have to kill the main to the house and hook into those main lugs. So we're leaving a big extra tail of wire. We're going to have to slip a few more joints of conduit in underneath. It's kind of you know, kind of the cheater way to go if you ask me. But anyway, we should have done the shop end first just because it's kind of the terminal end, and we should have worked this way. I don't know if that really makes sense to you guys or not, but that's what I'm thinking. But anyway, going along and just gluing up joint by joint now. We got a bunch of the conduit slipped on all the way down and kicked it into the hole just so it's a little more lined up. And we're going through gluing each connection now. Trying to work our way down to the shop, and hopefully by the time I get there, my wife will have the panel up, and then we can start bringing a bit of conduit down out of the panel. And out through the wall so we can figure out exactly where we need to cut our penetration in the wall. I'm kind of stalling on cutting a hole in my middle wall, I'm not gonna lie. But it looks like we should have more than enough cable. I guess I can come down here and pull out this extra slack. I always get so nervous with this because gosh darn, if you cut her just a little too short, you know, then you're in trouble. But I think we're gonna have more than enough. So I'm gonna grab this extra tail here and just pull it over. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Throw that in the ditch. Yeah, I got another 20 foot still. Sweet. That should be more than enough because it's just got to go right up. We're gonna come straight up here on the wall and, you know, penetrate somewhere about I don't know, a foot up, and then turn and come in. The bottom of the panel is gonna be like right here. So we will should have plenty. If I don't make you guys sick. Yeah, we're way up there. So, okay, that makes me feel a little better. So now I'm gonna get to gluing. We've left extra on the other end to be able to hook up that panel. So I gotta get back to work. All right, well, I know it's getting dark and you guys can hardly see, but we got her, at least on the shop end. Took a little bit longer today than we had hoped, but given what we had to do today as far as actually digging the hole, the ditch and everything, and doing it by hand, we didn't start on it till probably close to 10 o'clock when we actually came out and started working. So to dig this ditch, which I mean I know the tractor helped quite a bit, but we also worked quite a bit on it. Dig the ditch, get all the wires run. Katie worked inside here. You're probably not gonna be able to see anything inside. Maybe. Katie was working inside here. Oh, that's totally dark. Wow, darkness, nothing. Okay, so there's a breaker panel there, and the conduit's run into it. I don't have any way to give you guys any light. Dang, the impact doesn't have a battery. Nail gun? Nail gun doesn't have a light. Anyway, doesn't matter. We got the panel up, got all the conduit run to it, got all the conduit run out through the wall. Everything's glued all the way up the ditch. And we got our wires pulled out here through the LB. We've got more than enough length. We only need about another foot of wire inside. So we got plenty of extra length on this end. Yeah, we'll say 2 feet. We may, hopefully we don't have to fight the wire back up. We've got the conduit up out of the ditch right now just to give us a little bit of workability with it, pushing it back and forth. But I'm thinking if I come along here and just pull these braces out, that the whole thing will find a way to drop itself down in the ditch just fine. Worst case is we have to pick a spot somewhere around the ditch out a little bit to let it take up that extra little bit of slack. But coming up here to the main panel on the house, we have not hooked into it yet because, of course, like I mentioned earlier, once we do, this whole wire's live because we're using the through lugs on the panel. So we've got to hook the other end of the wire up to the shop panel first and get it all secured and protected, and then we'll come in here, we'll glue on our coupling, our bushing. Yeah, see, we've got extra length here because we've only really got to be able to get to right here in the panel. So we've got an extra foot here, no problem, 1.5 feet. So we'll get our last little connection made up here, which will probably be a total pain in the rump, just like it was on the other end. But such is conduit. For whatever reason, I can never quite get it right, or at least I don't feel like it's right. But it's in. The rain chances for tomorrow got pushed out a little bit, which is good. So either tonight or early tomorrow morning, we will finish hopefully making all the main connections, get this drop back in the hole, and start filling this ditch in. And I mean, heck, if it rains and the ditch fills with water now, who cares? I'll throw dirt in the top of water. It'll work itself out over time. It's like this whole property. just pile dirt in the mud. It'll dry out eventually. So anyway, I think we're pretty much done for today unless we come out tonight. But if we do come out tonight, you're probably not going to learn about it. So that's it for now. All right, so the electric is all done. We got all the breakers turned back on. Everything's holding, so that's pretty awesome. I mean, holding like it should, but for some reason it's always scary to flip a breaker even when you know you've done it right. And we got the ditch filled back in. That's the last thing. It's supposed to start raining any minute now, which, yeah, I don't know. It might just be a little sprinkle. I don't really know what they're calling for other than just rain. But yeah, we got the ditch filled back in pretty well. It's really well packed down here around the shop where we had good clay. Up here in the yard, I got a little soft spot, and I know exactly what it is. Here's a big old chunk of clay that really shouldn't be there, but whatever, it'll smooth out and work out eventually. There's a soft spot right here because we had a little tree planted here that died, but because those tree roots and stuff were rotting in the ground, it makes an extra soft spot. So I tried to back drag it all and then drove over and packed it down. And you can tell there's a lot of dirt just heaped up right here on the edge of the grass. But I don't want to try to get in here real greedy, so to speak, and pull that dirt back in and then rip up the grass around it. So we're going to just leave the ditch how it is for now. We're going to let it rain, let it pack and settle. And then whenever I get a chance, I'll just come in here with a tractor with a bucket of nice dirt and just kind of fill it in. So we'll just kind of fill in the rut, get some grass seeded on top of it. And yeah, before long, you'll never know. Anyway, shop power is done. That's super cool. I mean, basically, it's all done. Had some help, of course, from our youngins. But, looking at this again, folks, I always tell you guys, you don't need to sit around and wait for somebody else to come do it for you unless you just really want to pay them. But in reality, for this whole project, let's see, we went to CED in Houston. Our total materials cost was right around $1,000, which is a lot, but that's big wire and a lot of it, and big panels. I mean, the main breaker panel itself was $200 just for the panel that we installed, which is a good QO square D panel. But the wire was actually really cheap. Everything to go along with it was more expensive. But yeah, so $1,000 was our cost, and our labor, realistically, we spent, I don't know, maybe a couple hours hand digging everything up by the house, digging around all those pipes and conduit stuff up there. The rest of the ditch, like you guys saw, we hooked on with the tractor and the plow and just took off through it. That didn't take us 2 hours to dig the rest of that ditch, realistically. It felt like a long time because you're digging a ditch, but it actually was really fast. And then so the rest of it, I mean, that was yesterday. We started yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning, had the ditch dug by 12:30 or so, went in, had lunch, came back out, started, laying out the cable and slipping conduit and gluing it all up. And we had everything done by last night by, 5:30 sundown, basically. We had everything to the shop. This morning we had to do the final connections on pushing the wire up into the panel in the shop. That took us maybe an hour, and doing the final connections on the house panel took maybe 30 minutes. It's a fight, always those last few little connections, but got all in there. So, realistically, 2 people could have easily done this in no more than 2 days. I say 2 people, two able-bodied, I should say, people that can dig a ditch. And of course, if you have the plow and the tractor and all that, but if you want to rent a Mini X and dig your ditches that way or whatever. But my point is, I don't know what an electrician would have charged to do this. I'm just going to guess a lot. I have no idea. But we did it ourselves, and we really did it pretty quickly, all things considered. It took us several days off and on, but when we dedicated ourselves to it and actually committed the time to it, it wasn't but a couple hours, really. Didn't seem like. So anyway, super cool. Super happy to have the shop powered up.